lounging, son.
All right, welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name's Ryan, and back with me, Mr. Joe Casey. Very
What's
excited
up?
to have him back. We talked about doing a creator commentary when we did the interview together. We talked about the book, so very excited to go through this with you. This is now I think the third time I've read this. I love this book. I'm so into this concept, and I have to call out too the letter you did in the back where you explain kind of like your mindset of doing this. I
Yeah.
think is important for everybody. If you're picking this book up, don't just gloss over it. It's something that you should read.
Provides a bit of context, yeah.
Yeah. But can't wait to jump into this, dude. I mean, the impetus behind this, and you kind of mentioned the back, is like a specific team that launched the Image universe is no longer had to kind of get retconned out for
Yeah.
some reasons.
Legal reasons, as it always is in corporate.
Yeah. Shout out to this. Was this your doing? Image Comics logo designed by Rob Liefeld?
No, that's part. I think that's part of their new boilerplate indicia text.
Is it? Okay, because I mean, look, right here you got like the whole get down of like, all the, the publisher, all the different positions. I don't remember seeing that, but
it was news to me too. They occasionally update their legalese and send it out to everybody who's making books for them, and that was the latest one.
dude,
It's good.
I love it.
It's a good shout out to Rob, and it's apropos for this book specifically.
That's why I thought it was you. That's why I was like, did you throw that little thing in there? Especially because like you have to call out like certain characters that you're utilizing, like Infinity, Ripcord, Enigma, and Bet Noir. So that was the reason I thought maybe this was like you. I'll give you credit. How about that?
I will. Listen. I'll take the credit because all props to Rob Liefeld. I mean, this book wouldn't exist without him.
Hell yeah. So not only are you writing this awesome book, but we got Paul Fry on art, Francesco Segala on colors, and the great Russ Wooten letters. He's like one of my favorite letters in comics. But take us into this opening scene that we're looking at.
Well, it's very in tradition with the inspiration for the book, which is a very political situation, highly charged, ripped from the headlines, just like in Youngblood #1, where they were basically invading Iraq or Kuwait, I guess, at the time. It was basically a very post-Gulf War scenario, and this is what's going on in the world right now. So I figured it was appropriate to dive into the real world implications of having these kind of characters running around.
This right here tells you everything you need to know, that this book will get fucking violent and graphic. This dude's not just an explosion. This dude's arm is ripped from his body.
Well, I will say too, panel 1 there is really lets you know that this is the Image shared universe. That's the female anchor from Todd's early spawns. I mean, she's shown up since, but to me, I don't even know what her name is.
Yeah, neither do I.
I don't know if she has been named, but she always signified to me she would show up in Spawn, obviously, in other comics. So she was the first indicator of like, this is, if you read those early Image comics, that's where you are. And
great action in here, dude.
The big Night Striker reveal, that's one of the new characters.
Some of the characters that you created for here are somewhat of analogs or replacements. I'll say replacements, right? For some of the original members of Youngblood is the team that we're in place of. Is this an analog for somebody that I just went over my head?
Well, not a direct analog. I mean, there's always got to be an armored character in these teams, right? And this is the latest one. It's not necessarily a direct one-on-one, but it's in that Die Hard mold for sure.
That's kind of what I figured. I just didn't want to assume. I love the political aspect of this book, which was, like you said, prevalent in the early Youngblood, but you take it up a little bit more. Like this definitely feels very current in terms of like the political climate in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been interested in that facet of these superheroes, if they existed, would definitely be a concern and a running concern for any government oversight or whatever. I always found it interesting in these kind of series where the government wants to think they're in charge, So they sort of walk around as though they are in charge and have all these rules, and oh, they've got to adhere to our mandates and all that stuff. But the superheroes, they don't need it in a way.
Yeah.
It's sort of like letting the mortals think they're in charge. I always love that dynamic, and it's very much part of the superhero idea, especially in America, is that maintaining the status quo, because it's such a fascistic idea. These superhero characters, they existed in the real world. Why don't they just take over? They've got the power. If they have the wherewithal, there's nothing stopping them from doing it, really. So I like that tension of, oh no, we're letting the mortals be in charge or think they're in charge, and it's like detente, and I keeping that delicate balance up. I always thought was interesting. So
Yeah.
we dive into it, with both feet in this book.
Yeah, I mean, in reality, yeah. I mean, if I had powers and I had any type of government official trying to tell me what to do, I mean, I'm just going to tell them to kindly go fuck themselves.
Yeah,
Who are you to tell me what I can and can't do? So it is an interesting aspect, and it is true. Like, so much of superhero comic books doesn't really deal with that because, like, they would not be allowed to run around and do kind of whatever they want. The government, I'm 90% sure that they would try to control them in some way,
yeah. Which is a futile attempt. Even, I mean, that's look, Frank Miller taught us all that way leads to madness.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that maintaining the status quo is it's a timely issue no matter what the year is, really. I mean, I think just keeping things on an even keel so people can sleep at night.
Right.
It's the moral it's the contract that everybody sort of signs, just so we can all live our lives, really.
Kind of blissful ignorance almost.
Exactly. Exactly. And really, setting up just how much is the public going to know about this relaunch is topic of discussion. That's what they're talking about in the White House there in the West Wing. It's like, how are we going to roll this out? How's this going to work?
Mm-hmm.
I like that behind the scenes stuff. It's like, sort of like if you're a process junkie, the process of building a superhero team in the modern world.
Yeah, it's the conversations that you don't necessarily always see in the comics, right? Like it takes place in, without the quote unquote camera on the people. And then this kind of led from the Dutch miniseries that you just wrapped up as well,
Yeah.
right? Like there's some
Yeah.
seeds that you planted in there. Infinity is the kind of one of our touchstones to like the past. She is a character that was created prior. And you talk about it too in the back, which like the legacy, right? Like time has gone. Just like in Savage Dragon, it ages in real time. Like he ages in real time. Like these characters essentially have aged in real time as well.
Yeah, Erica Richmond, it was the first Infinity, and she's now in charge of this program. And I sort of liken it to, Magic Johnson played on the Lakers, and then he was sort of part of the management of the Lakers. It's that same kind of, generational thing. And of course, her daughter is expressing a little angst, I guess, that she's not in Ukraine
Yeah.
at the moment.
And then they're talking about like this mess in Sao Paulo. Is that something? That's not this event, right? That's
So that's referring to the last issue of Dutch. Yeah, the whole Gehrig plot and trying to take over the internet and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Because they had to send some people down there and deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that's a reference callback to Dutch number 3.
Yeah, that Old Man Dutch was just that book was a blast.
Worked out really well.
Yeah. Then we get go ahead.
First issues are always kind of tough because you want to get the action in there, but you want to get the setup in there, so that so we're doing the kind of TV cross-cutting between the sedate world of the West Wing and the chaos in Ukraine. It's a time-honored technique in comics where you just cut back and forth and make sure you're keeping people engaged.
Well, yeah, you're keeping the reader, you're keeping us on our toes, right? Because like we're jumping back and forth between scenes. I have to call out Paul Fry's art too, is because like he just as good as his action is, he makes these like moments where it's just people talking exciting to look at. Like playing with the different angles that we're coming in at and stuff like that. He did a fantastic. I'm not familiar with his work. This is the first time I think I've read a book that he's drawn, but huge
Yeah.
fan now.
Oh no, it's funny. Paul's sort of a late bloomer in terms of going pro. He's not older, but he's not a young guy.
Mm-hmm.
So it was great to hook up with him and do this book because he got all the references. You know, if I'd have found a really young artist, like a guy in his 20s or whatever, he certainly wasn't around for the, 30 years ago when the Image started.
Right.
But Paul was around, so he gets all the references. He knows exactly what this book is trying to do, and what we're trying to do, and what it's supposed to be. So that was a big relief to find a guy who was good, had lived a bit of a life, knew the old comics we were referencing. It was just, I'm so grateful that he agreed to do it.
Yeah, he did a great job. Some of the Easter eggs you guys put in here too are fantastic. This next page right here just got me when I read it the first time. I mean, look at that.
Yeah.
Literally, no pun intended. Rooker's ripping through these guys. Fucking nuts.
Yeah, it kind of, I mean, it's these things you're trying to establish not only powers and abilities, but personalities. And that's a whole thing with, going back to, Stan and Jack, is that the display of the superpower always tended to reflect the personality of the character as well. It wasn't just I can run fast or I can fly. It was how they did it that really illustrated the kind of personality, the kind of character they were. And Ripcord is, intense to say the least.
Oh yeah, dude. There's this dialogue too. Well, shit, comrades. That's what you get when you abandon your post.
Yeah.
No amount of training is going to prepare you for the likes of us. Just the sheer cockiness and lack of like empathy for human life. I mean, it's right there in those two panels, and you
Yeah,
immediately you're not like I wasn't as shocked when I saw the last page after seeing
right.
that and reading this.
Yeah, no, we're definitely teeing him up for his moral compass isn't quite pointing true north at the moment.
Yeah. I love how he like even talks about like this, what part of covert op is being misunderstood here? Because like this is not like this is out in the open, man. There's nothing covert about what they're doing with these people. I mean, look at that. The head just lopped off right at the base or the middle of the skull. People just, I mean, arms flowing.
I kind of, that methodology, what I liken it to is it's the madman theory. It's so out there that you couldn't just point to, oh, these guys did it, or this guy is is responsible. It's so out there. I mean, that's sort of Ripcord's whole vibe, is like, I'm going to push the limits. That's my out. That's my way to skate around this, whatever the issues in play are, to just go so over the top that you just to process the events as they happen is enough. You don't want to dig too deeply into it. And that's kind of his cover.
I love this mother-daughter dynamic too. I think is really funny because she wanted to be there and she basically got benched.
Well, she's young, and her mom is trying to protect her in a lot of ways, but their dynamic, I think, is one of the character hearts of the series. And as we go on in the series, it's, I mean, this is definitely just seeding what's going to happen later.
I love that line. Wow, it's like looking in a mirror.
Yeah.
So good.
I always, wonder, comic book readers, because I mean, I do it for a living, so I'm always sort of hyper aware of these things.
Mhm.
How much are visual cues and how much are dialogue cues? I mean, I'm hoping that everybody gets, I mean, it's revealed later, but that they're related, that it's mother-daughter. I mean, I don't come out right and say it in this first scene, but I just hope by the end of the issue, everybody sort of gets a handle on that relationship, that
Oh yeah.
it's very generational in its conflict,
No, it's great. I love, like I said, it's a great dynamic. It's something that I don't really think I see in superhero comics much. You don't really see like the mantle path. I mean, I guess Savage Dragon, yeah, but like I mean, Malcolm's now running on his own, right? The original Dragon's dead. He's got some alternate universe dad there, but it's not the same. So like watching this, she's basically the way I took it is like she's kind of being a little bit of a brat, and she's just
Yeah.
like going against her mom, and her mom is basically like, God, basically she says, you're just fucking like me. Like I was exactly like that at your age too. So I think that does add a different level to the book that I really enjoyed.
Yeah. And like I said, that will play out over the course of the series. I mean, some of the stuff that I'm writing at the moment, I'm deep into the second arc already. It does just keep bubbling and keep bubbling, you know.
This line too, where she's like, just because you were the product way back when doesn't mean you know how to sell it. Basically selling this team to
Yeah.
the world at large, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the whole issue. And of course, the original Youngblood and Blood Squad 7 in this universe was the celebrity superhero team.
Mm-hmm.
So the selling of it was a big component of it. And obviously they're figuring out, well, what does it mean in 2024 to sell something like this to the public, and what's the right way to do it, what's the wrong way to do it. Again, it's, as a process junkie myself, I enjoy hearing about that stuff. I like putting that stuff on the page where it's appropriate. And for something like this sort of rebuilding of a brand,
Mm-hmm.
these kind of discussions are, I mean, they interest me. So I hope they interest the reader too.
Well, it helps, flesh out this world because, like, while you are like inserting this team in place, there is differences. It's not exactly a one for one, like
Right.
where you're replacing stuff. So yeah, to get and especially that it helps readers that, I was a little bit young when it came out, but like I still got it at a young age. I was like maybe a year or two off before I actually picked up an Image comic. But
Right.
like, what if about the new readers, the younger readers, like you said, somebody in their 20s that wasn't even born when Image launched? So it helps readers to kind of, for me, it touches on 2 points. It does kind of play on the 90s nostalgia. If you were around, you see the Easter eggs, you're like, oh, that's dope. But if you're not around, it's still a great comic and it's still like a great world that you're immersing yourself in.
Yeah, I was great. I mean, we've been getting, letters now through the email, obviously, because we have the address in the back. And one of the best ones has been, somebody wrote in and said, I have knew nothing about the early Image years. I didn't read those comics, but I still bought this and got what we were doing. So that was immensely gratifying.
Oh yeah, that's a great compliment. And then you cut back to the action. I love this, dude. I love how Night Striker just shoots right through the helicopter.
Yeah, she's the most professional and the most efficient, and I mean they're all sort of badass. But I tend to think that somebody who's got their head in the game and is not prone to chaotic action
Yeah.
is actually more capable and more frightening than someone who kind of wears their crazy on their face. You know
Oh
what
yeah,
I mean?
this dude's a loose cannon, man.
Yeah,
This guy's fucking nuts.
yeah. But she's very contained, and but yet here she is, throwing tanks around and shit. It's great.
Oh, I know I'm telling you, like, I love how he can go from those, like, a quiet moment and then go straight into the action. If the book flows off, like, in such a great way. And I love this again, as much as he's a piece of shit, I think, I love the way he's using this shit and he's just tearing people apart.
I love these Ukraine scenes. I got to give props out to Francesco, the colorist, because I gave him reference. Whenever we see footage from the Ukraine, at least the footage I've seen, it's always got that sort of overcast,
Yeah.
whited out, gray look. And I sent him that reference, and I think he totally nailed it. I mean, this looks like the file footage and the news footage that we see coming out of that region.
Yeah, definitely like muted tones and stuff, but then it just makes like the blood and the red pop so much more
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
page.
completely.
Dude, this dude's such a sick fucker, dude. I didn't even notice that when I read it. The eyeball popping out.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I love we're about I know it's a few pages in when we go to the meeting room, but I love this. Yeah, look, she's getting mad at her mom for being condescending, and I mean the daughter wants to be the field leader. I mean, how old is she at this point? I would imagine
Early 21,
yeah.
22.
Yeah, so she's still a kid.
Yeah, oh, totally, totally. And I would give another shout out to Paul. Paul designed the war room. I've got like 3D sort of models of it that he came up with when we were working out what it looked like. And we were ahead enough that we sent those designs to Simon Gain for the Dutch miniseries, so it's all of a piece. But yeah, Paul designed this from the ground up. I think.
3D models, that's awesome.
Oh yeah.
Now that's like That's some dope world building right there, where you're actually like, you want to know what it looks like inside and keeping it cohesive. That's because then if there's like a spin-off or whatever you do, like have somebody else draw, they know exactly where to pull the reference from.
Yeah, it was just one of those weird things where Simon's version saw print first, but Paul had designed it, months beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
It's smart, it's smart thinking on an artist's part, because if you know you're going to be in a location that you have to invent anyway, and you're going to see it from all different angles just to make the scene visually, different, than to, have reference. I mean, it's movie makers making models for their sets that they had to build, and it's the same principle, but it's keeps things consistent, which I like.
I love this line. She's like, "We're gonna change everything this time." So
Yeah,
definitely big plans.
there was because she was there for the beginning, for the first iteration,
Mm-hmm.
she knows how it all went south. She knows where it all went wrong. The history of Blood Squad 7, for the most part, tracks with the history of Youngblood. A reader wrote in and asked the specific question, how close does it track? And I'll say it right here. It tracks fairly closely up until the Judgment Day miniseries.
Oh, the Alan Moore stuff.
Yeah, because
Okay.
I figured the cutoff point for the shared universe where Youngblood is concerned was the last time that that shared universe was acknowledged in a Youngblood comic. And for me, for my money, in the 90s, I should
Mhm.
also qualify. So for me, that was Judgment Day, because if you recall, Savage Dragon showed up to kind of, he was like the bailiff of the trial.
Yeah, I got that trade somewhere.
Yeah, oh,
Yeah.
it's pretty nuts. But
Yeah.
but that was the last time that shared universe concept was acknowledged in a Youngblood comic in the 90s. So for Blood Squad 7, in terms of tracking the continuity, the analogous continuity, that's kind of the cutoff point for us.
Here we go. This is where she pulls rank on her kid right here.
Yeah, yeah, hopefully that, that kind of thing. I mean, these kind of character scenes, you try to build them so there's some sort of payoff. So from the West Wing to coming here to the Blood Squad 7 War Room, it's all building to that reveal of like, I'm your daughter,
Mhm.
which it wasn't spelled out completely before. I mean, I think everybody gets it by the time she says it.
Yeah.
Um, but that's sort of the punctuation of the scene emotionally between these two, that it goes beyond, she wants to, be in the field. She wants to see more action. Erica is trying to put the reins on a little bit. This is a lifelong thing that these two got going on.
Yeah, and just for, anybody following along, if you want to know where to find Infinity,
There we go. Yeah.
little comic called Brigade, issue 2. This is her debut, right?
Extra image. I love
Yeah.
that. There's another character we'll see in a little while right there. But yeah, this was something that Eric Stevenson, who's now the publisher of Image,
Mhm.
and Richard Horry came up with, and they own those characters, so we were able to use them in Blood Squad 7.
Can't forget the inker, Paul Scott, aka Rob Liefeld.
Right.
That's his alter ego, man. Paul
That's the
Scott.
weird. I mean, that's the weirdest nom de plume you
Yeah.
could.
Yeah, yeah. But no, this is great. I didn't even like I didn't, to be honest with you, I didn't remember. And I'm so glad you called out some issues. There's a couple other issues that I'll say that I don't have to show off today, which are, I believe you said it was Supreme
Supreme 1 and 2.
1 and 2. Yeah. Cool to be able to like compare and contrast. So like I already said it before we record. I'm down to do like every issue with you and just like pull out the old Image comics and we'll show the references.
Yeah, let's do it.
The heap of bodies, dude. What
Yeah,
a sick fuck.
sitting on a heap of bodies is always shorthand for
Yeah.
I'm a sick fuck.
Yeah. Smoking a cigar. Night Striker just like it's almost she's almost robotic with him. Like she just does not want to tolerate it. She's just here to handle her business. And it's like, see you stateside. I gotta get the hell out of here.
Well, I mean, I've always tend to I tend to write superhero teams, and I've written a few in my day
Mm-hmm.
as co-workers. They're not necessarily, family or best buds. at the very least, they're coworkers.
Hmm.
And sometimes you're professional with your coworkers, you're perfectly pleasant and cordial, but sometimes it's just you keep it professional and you stop right there. That's where you draw the line. And she definitely knows. I mean, it's obvious the kind of guy that he is, and she did her job. Now she's out of there.
I mean, look, he talked about winning the war for them. What if this truth will ever come out? Well, whatever, as long as I can reap the reward. That's all he cares about.
Yeah. Well, that's his whole slice of the conceptual pie here, is that he is just dying to be a celebrity superhero. He wants the fame, he wants the adulation, he wants the benefits and the perks and all that. He's the team member that represents that fame whore.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you think about the original Youngblood concept, like the celebrity superhero, to me was ahead of its time. Like if you
Definitely.
think about like how much celebrity culture with fucking all the super reality shows and people like that coming out like in the early 2000s and stuff, like Rob was ahead of the curve with that kind of thing.
Well, and also one thing about this series that we're going to explore a little bit is a celebrity has a whole different meaning now. It's actually in a way a devalued currency, because what's the difference between a movie star and a TikTok star?
Yeah.
The TikTok star might be more popular. So what the meaning of celebrity has been totally, it's morphed in the
Hmm.
last 30 years into something. In a way, it doesn't have the power that it used to have, but in other ways it's more accessible to be a celebrity in the strictest sense of the word, where people know who you are and you have some visibility, some popularity, but it doesn't mean what it did 30 years ago.
Right.
The juxtaposition of celebrity superhero concept from 1992 to 2024 is definitely something we're going to explore in this series, because I find that shit fascinating.
Yeah, dude, so do I. This is it. This right here. You just straight up call it Todd Toys.
Yeah,
That is the Dutch figure too. That is what the Dutch figure looked like.
well, and then the commercial narration is straight out of the old commercial too. If you just can go on YouTube and find those old commercials, and that's pretty much how the voiceover for those commercials.
I love that, you got obviously Blockhead is the analog for Bad Rock. I
Yeah,
love the homage to the old cover too of
yeah,
Youngblood #1.
yeah. This is, I mean, hopefully, if somebody didn't know before that poster, I would think, I mean, Youngblood #1, to Rob's credit, is such an iconic cover. It holds a lot of meaning on a lot of levels. So to have that kind of shorthand to draw upon, I mean, I wouldn't have even thought to do this kind of book without those touchstones, and that poster is one of the main ones for me.
Yeah, I dig it. I love little things like that. Again, like if you weren't around, you don't know. But it is an iconic. It's been homaged so many times too.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
I love you called up on the Judgment Day right there.
Right, exactly, exactly. That's what I get a kick out of, to be honest, doing this stuff, is how many Easter eggs can I lay in there that make sense in context and out of context.
Hmm.
That's kind of the game of it all.
Yeah. I mean, talking about it being dismantled from within, it's remained dormant for decades until now. I mean, because basically, when did that book come out? 98?
Yeah, 97, 98. Yeah.
Yeah. So in this sense, like all you're basically saying, like, all the young blood that came post that isn't stuff that like that you're ignoring all that stuff. Like that almost didn't exist in the
Well,
shared
I
universe.
mean, I don't want to be, in a way, I don't want to be that hard liner. But what I will say, just like in Judgment Day, at the end of Judgment Day, Youngblood as a government program had ended.
Hmm.
Anything that happened after that in the comics, like Alan Moore's run for Awesome Comics, and even some of the stuff that I did, I tried to bring back. I mean, I discount my own work in the timeline here, but what Alan did was to do a Youngblood that was sort of privatized, not government connected.
Hmm.
So your mileage may vary how you want to view the old continuity in like again a 1-to-1 ratio. Youngblood as a government program ended at the end of Judgment Day, and that's kind of how we track it as well.
Oh, I didn't even realize that they got like a stack of her pictures back from her Infinity days.
Yeah, yeah,
These guys are so some of these are definitely fanboys a little
yeah.
bit.
But I like, again, it's an interesting conversation about how we're going to do this. How are we going to, it's not 30 years ago. We can't just repeat. And yet we know there's a nostalgia factor here. How do we play on that? And the way they do it in the second arc is, I'll say this much, it's batshit crazy.
Oh, dude. I'm excited. I
Bad
can't believe
shit.
you're already in the second arc.
Oh yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. But again, these process conversations are just they fascinate me. I hope they fascinate readers that like this stuff. It's because you know the behind the scenes machinations of something that most people would only see on their TV, you know, in sort of its polished form.
Yeah.
I just I just love that kind of
Well,
shit.
yeah, it's like the aspect of like, oh, we made them, celebrities to kind of distract from the covert activities they were doing, and like even her saying like, well, they need to know on some level about this. Like, we can't just like say nothing about what's going on and like asking about the fun roster. They're gonna have a mix of new, with legacy ties, obviously, with Infinity's daughter, and
Yeah,
then some veteran members. So, I mean, I'm excited, dude. I'm excited to see all do this right here, the action figure.
yeah. I don't know. I want to call out too that I don't know if I mean probably because it was an incentive cover for Dutch #3. Paul did the incentive cover or the I think it was the 1 in 20. That was the Dutch action figure packaging.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Oh man, and Francesco, colored it realistically. So I mean that's it's been done. I mean Star Wars comics do it a lot, but to see it with sort of an old Todd action figure packaging and all that. So that's the packaging.
Yeah.
We just use that here as well. But for anyone who had those action figures, that's a big Easter egg right there.
Like I said, I dig that stuff. And then, even as she's going out, she's like, all right, people, there's already rumors about this team coming back. They basically need to get ahead of it,
Yeah,
you know? And I mean, this right here, she's walking away. I'm keeping this, probably a collector's item. And then her just looking down at the figures and just, you can only imagine what she's thinking looking back. Obviously, 30 years have gone by since she
yeah.
was a part of that team.
And this is the most subtle transition of the book. She's picking up the Bête Noire action figure
Yeah.
in the page, and there she is. Which
Bette Noir isn't a character I remember. What book was she in?
she was from. She was a later character in the New Men series.
Okay.
There was a. I mean, most of that series was. I mean, that's Eric Stevenson again.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and Todd Knock was the original artist. Or actually, I think Jeff Matsuda was the original artist. Then Todd Knock took over and did the majority of the series. But there was a little run at the end of the Newman series where Chris Sprouse came in
Oh
and
shit.
did,
Okay.
and did like, I don't know, 2 or 3 issues. They were fantastic. They were great at the time. Eric was really reaching for something and trying to change the tone of the book.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where Bête Noire was introduced. And in fact, with I think it's issue 6, Chris does a Bête Noire variant cover, which turned out fantastic.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that. That's
It
dope.
was great to contact him and say, hey, you remember this character you drew for like 2 issues back in the 90s? And he was like, yes, I do. So it was great that he did that.
I love Chris Sprouse. He's a great artist. I had no idea he even drew that, but I gotta go check out some of those New Man issues. I think that's like I have like sporadic ones of that series. Makes me want to go back and check it out for sure.
The Eric and Chris issues are really, really cool.
Okay, I'll go scour eBay for those.
Yeah.
I'm sure I could find them there.
So now we again the talking news head giving context
Mm-hmm.
about how the state of the world and what kind of world this new team is entering, and there's a couple of call outs to like the threats that exist out there on a meta-human level,
Right.
and some of those we'll see down the line.
Kilgore Cult, Gang of Four.
Yeah, Gang of Four is the real Easter egg because there was a group called the Four that was a Youngblood bad guy team.
Okay.
that was from the first, couple of issues of Youngblood. It had, like the guy, Strong Arm and Lethal, I think was part. No, Lethal wasn't part of the four. Gage, there was Gage was part of the four. So if you go back and read like the original Youngblood #1 and Youngblood #2, you will see the four.
Okay.
And in our version, it's the Gang of Four, is the nod to the punk rock band Gang of Four.
And then we come upon Infinity, going back to the character that you had said was in the other issue. I'll show this other one I pulled out too, Shadowhawk 2, which is the second part of that. Much better design, I have to say. Paul did a much better design of that character.
Yeah, we went a little creepier. This is a very David Lynchian moment in the book, which I feel like that's, to me, the best thing about superhero comics and the superhero team book in particular, is that different characters bring in different tones. So the fact that Enigma brings in the sort of surrealistic David Lynchian tone for the book, I mean, I just like that. I like when superhero team books have all the different shades, have all the different colors.
Yeah, these pages are fantastic too. Like just this complete red. Like when you go from this, it's all dark, and then boom.
Yeah.
Like that. And Enigma looks way more badass with this design, the little tweaks that Paul did.
And Enigma's sort of exactly what his name suggests. He's sort of a little batshit crazy, a little like don't quite know what he's talking about all the time, at least not literally. And he's obviously connected to some sort of otherworldly power, otherworldly energy and you see on that second page there is not quite completely in control. That little glitch in panel 4 there,
Yeah.
is we're setting something up with that.
Okay. And then, this favor that she has to return. Is that something that will be played out later?
Well, it's a little bit, yes, and it also is a little bit of a callback to those first appearances, because Enigma did sort of in those original stories that Eric and Richard did. Enigma sort of wakes in the original Infinity up out of a sort of a suspended animated state. So they've got a long history together, those two characters. That's why she's trying to sort of bring him in on this now that it's time to relaunch the team. But in a way, he's way past that. He's sort of evolved past those kind of, for him, earthly concerns. But I promise we've not seen the last of Enigma.
Yeah. I just, all the setup here is just great. There's so many different threads that you can see that are going to be pulled later. But this last couple pages, dude, with Ripcord, man.
Yeah, this is where it gets into this scene is a little more on brand with some of my other older work. I would
Dude, are you first of all, are you injured? Who, me? I'm the picture of health. I'm a goddamn superhero on the verge of global stardom. And then boom.
Yeah.
Living the dream.
Yeah.
What a sick fuck.
And Ryan, you've read issue 2, so the sickness continues.
Yes. Yes, the sickness does continue. I mean, first of all, I loved it when I read it, in advance on the PDF. But man, there's something about holding the book in your hand, dude, that's like, it gives you a different experience. And like I said, I've read this 3 times already. So I'm so on board with this series. I'm so excited to see kind of what else you got coming. And like I said, you laying it out here was fantastic.
Well, I used to do these back matter pieces in a lot of my creator-owned comics, and I sort of can't stop doing them. Like Junior Baker didn't have them in there. And although its predecessor, Butcher Baker, had these wild back matter pieces that I wrote. People have, when I say people, I mean like 1 or 2 readers have said they missed that stuff that I've done. So, this one provides a bit of context. There's another one in issue 2, but now that the book is out, the letters have started to come in. So it will morph into a true letters page, and we've gotten some great letters so far.
I also love blood squatting.
Well, I'll give you the origin of that. The designer of the book is who I've worked with a lot, mainly exclusively the past 15 years, Sonia Harris. She does incredible work. She's, to me, the best designer in the business, with logos and production design and graphic design. She does all of it great. And when I told her the title of the series, Blood Squad 7, she's English. She's British. She thought I said Blood Squat 7. So she was horrified. That's the title of your comic? I was like, no, Blood Squad 7. So the letters page title is an inside joke between
Okay. I love it. And got the cover to issue 2. Very excited for the next issue. What a great comic, dude. I am so stoked that this book is out and exists and that people can check it out, because getting to read it that early, well before it coming out, I was already anticipating it. Everybody that I've recommended it to has loved it. So
Oh, that's great.
definitely excited that we got to go through it together. I'm looking forward to going through issue 2 with you. And I just
And
want to thank you,
beyond.
dude. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, issue 2 and beyond. Let's do this. It's
Hell
great.
yeah, dude. So get out there, hit up your shop, add it to your pull list. Issue 2 is final order cutoff is this upcoming week. So make sure you, if it's already on your pull list, you tell your retailers that you want to get it. Stay tuned for issue 2 with us.
Yeah.